Hello, and thank you for tuning into today's episode of the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Nidhi, and today we are exploring the fascinating intersection of technology, sustainability, and entrepreneurship. We are set to unfold how innovative thinking and a commitment to environmental stewardship are making significant strides in the indoor air quality sector. We are delighted to welcome Giancarlo Sessa and Aedan Fida, the pioneering co founders of Blade Air, onto our podcast. Their journey from ambitious business students to industry leaders in sustainable air quality solutions is nothing short of remarkable. With Blade Air, they have not only transformed how businesses and homes manage air quality, but have also raised the bar for sustainability within the industry. Let's gear up to hear their story, learn from their experiences, and get inspired by their vision. John Carlo, Aiden, it's wonderful to have both of you here today. How's everything going?
Thank you for having us, first of all. Everything's going well. We're excited for this.
You
Yeah,
both have
absolutely.
Thank you. So, you both have been at the forefront of environmental innovation in business, turning Blade Air into a symbol of what modern enterprises can achieve with the right blend of technology and purpose. I am thrilled to delve into your insights and understand more about your transformative work. So, let's talk about your inception and vision. Let's rewind to those very first moments of inspiration that sparked the creation of Blade Air. Can you walk us through the inception of the company and what initially inspired you to enter the indoor air quality market?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually a bit of a funny story. The company was originally founded back in 2017 while Giancarlo and I were in the latter half of our second year of university, studying at the Schulich School of Business. And we met in first year and basically immediately knew that we were going to be best friends. And both coming from entrepreneurial families, we both knew that we had that itch. And him and I had been speaking basically since the day we met about starting a business together. When I was going to university, my older brother Joe, who was our third business partner, he was actually attending Toronto Metropolitan University at the time, and he was in his fourth year of chemical engineering. Joe and I lived together because we both went to school in the city, which you can imagine having two brothers live together is always fun. And the way that he used to deal with the stress of engineering was that he used to grow plants. For the people listening to this podcast, if you could see my eyebrows, you would understand that I have an Italian heritage. And I grew up right down the street from my grandparents. And Joe, being the eldest male child in my family, was put to work every single summer. And he kind of grew a love for growing plants from that. And so while we were in university, that's how he coped with things. And, it started out great, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, regular things. And then things did start getting a little bit more weird as the stress levels got higher, looking at lychees, lemons, actual cherries, and realized in Canada, not enough heat and light in the winter to actually grow these plants. And so he looked at buying a growth locker, which was most commonly used for cannabis at that time, saw the price tag, said, well, absolutely not. I'm an engineer, though. I'll build my own. And during that design phase, he actually realized the inefficiency with the carbon filter, which was used for odor control. And again, keeping in mind timelines of 2017 is right around when the Canadian government was looking to federally legalize recreational consumption of cannabis and allow licensed producers to come into the market. And so in recognizing the inefficiency with the carbon filter, he got really frustrated with his design and decided that he was just going to design a replaceable carbon filter. And knowing that this huge application was available for this, and this is what the technology was used for, he actually came to me and asked, did I think there was going to be a good market for it? He's like, I have this great idea for this replaceable carbon filter. Do you think that we can make a business of that? And I said, I'm excited to find out, but there's one other person I want to bring on board, and that was Giancarlo. And so from day one, the ethos of the company was about improving indoor air quality as a baseline. But beyond that, we were looking to improve energy efficiency by utilizing higher efficiency carbon filters, making our beds more breathable while still capturing more odor control, reducing logistics spend, making the carbon canisters smaller, making them recyclable instead of going into waste. And then as the third point, trying to improve operational efficiency. So we always had those four elements of energy efficiency, operational efficiency, reduced logistics spending, and as a baseline, improving indoor air quality as the ethos of what Blade Air was. And for 2017 to basically 2020, that was what we were focused on, was pure carbon filtration. From there, 2020, we were forced into a position of looking at indoor air quality more holistically as the world kind of fell into the pandemic, and we were looking at it and evaluating how can we help drive positive change during this time while staying true to our ethos. Started developing our line of air purifiers, where we became the Ontario government's vendor of choice for that technology, and really just continuously looked forward to say, how can we service this industry better? How can we drive positive change and impact while adhering to our ethos of what we value as an organization, and look to revolutionize indoor air quality as a marketplace, because there has been such stagnated growth over the last 20 plus years in this industry.
So what were some of those early challenges that you both faced, and how did you overcome those challenges?
You know what? It's funny because being an entrepreneur, it's like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
There's one day you have the highs, the next day you have the low, and there's challenges all along the way, and it's all
Yeah.
about overcoming them. I think us in particular are lucky that as three partners starting the organization, we always had each other to bounce ideas off of
Mm-hmm.
whenever we had these challenges.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever I hear this question, I always kind of think back to especially the early days. As Aedan mentioned, starting the company while we were in university, we were young entrepreneurs, and being young entrepreneurs was a challenge, especially to Aedan's point, in an industry that hasn't seen change in 25 plus years.
Yeah.
You have these young guys coming in, right out of university, ready to attack the market and dominate and make a change. And what we noticed is, because we were young, sometimes people wouldn't necessarily give us that initial chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell you a bit of a story one time, actually, and it's a quite funny story, actually, too. And this is going back to, I want to say it was February of January of 2020. We were out at a trade show in Vancouver. We flew back to Toronto. We met a bunch of people. It was really great. We did all our follow-ups. We got invited actually to fly back to Vancouver the next month in January to go meet with this big distribution company.
Mm-hmm.
The owner was going to be at the meeting. All of the key decision makers were going to be there. We got to the meeting. We flew out, got our car, went to their office, and we got in there, and you kind of sensed a little bit of an interesting vibe in the room. We never met the owner of this company. And, we do our pitch, we chat with them. And at the end of the meeting, he stops and he says, you know what? He's like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. He's like, when you came into the office and you came into the room, I didn't really think much of you guys. He's like, a couple of young guys, filtration space. What do they really know?
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, and then you guys opened your mouths. He's like, the conviction that you had, the passion, the knowledge that you had, where you see this industry going. He's like, you got me. He's like, I completely believe it. He's like, I'm all for it with you guys. And he's like, I'm here to support as much as you can. So, that's one of the many times we face those challenges, and it's all good. And really what that is, what you're doing it for a reason. Overcoming these challenges is okay. And there's going to be challenges along the process and along the journey. And it's just part of the journey. So that's one key challenge that sticks with me.
I would 100% say that it is incredible to see how both of your vision, or maybe I can say the three of your initial vision, has evolved into like these impactful solutions.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. It definitely, when we started back in 2017, if you had told us this is where we would be, especially with all the accreditations that the team has been able to achieve together, we would just sit there and laugh and say, yeah, okay. But it's Giancarlo said it best. The highs are the absolute highs and the lows are the absolute lows. But it is definitely a worthwhile journey.
That is amazing. So, as we have just heard about Giancarlo and Aedan's recount those early days of Blade Air, it is a reminder of the power of a clear vision and the courage to act onto it. I want to take a moment to ask all of you out there listening, what's your vision? Maybe there's a project that you have been thinking about or a change that you have always wanted to make. Let their story inspire you to take that first step toward making it a reality. Let's talk about your disruptive technology and blue ocean strategy. So, shifting focus to your strategic approach, how do you utilize disruptive technology to carve out new market spaces within the indoor air quality sector?
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great question. We've always been a fan of the blue ocean strategy. We like to venture out where other organizations haven't before. It's a fun challenge, and it's a challenge that, in our opinion, is one of the most rewarding. We see an industry that hasn't changed in tens of years. We
Mhm.
want to be those individuals in that organization, in that group to make that change. Now, all our technology in our portfolio from the beginning has kind of had that approach with the blue ocean strategy. We started by creating the world's first zero waste carbon filter, took a
Mhm.
process that was always 100% waste down to zero. With our second technology, our air purifiers, we created one of the highest clean air delivery rates air purifiers for the commercial space. Everybody's focused on lower areas. We were focused on the larger ones with effectiveness.
Mhm.
And even right now, of our most recent technology of our pro filters as well, it's focusing on intersecting indoor air quality and sustainability, doing something that people thought was impossible. Forbes actually came out with an article, and I believe it was 2022, basically asking the question, is indoor air quality and sustainability even possible together? In the background, we were working on this, and we knew the answer was yes. We always like to go in those directions because, it's finding ways to provide significant value to individuals, to organizations, to stakeholders, to the environment that nobody's really thinking of, and we like to create missions and visions and plans around that.
Just to kind of build on what Giancarlo was saying there is, I think kind of an underlying point to this question that really not a lot of people think about. It actually relates back to your question on vision and having a clear vision of who you want to be in industry and having that idea of what you're working towards. For Giancarlo, Joe, and I would argue the entire team here at Blade, all 30 plus people of us at this point, we are very focused on delivering on the vision that we have set out to really make an impact. We are
Mhm.
an impact solutions oriented manufacturer of indoor air quality technology, and what we're looking for is to really change the world. We lean into our disruptive identity because
Mhm.
we want people to know that we don't accept the status quo. It's not in our nature to accept it. We want to challenge it. We want to be driving positive impact and positive change. And it's as much as it is about, generating a profit as a business, it's not really about that. It's about what type of change you can drive and the legacy and the impact that you can have to market. Giancarlo and I say this to the team all the time. We have the capability, we have the capacity, we have the know-how, and we have the technology. We have the obligation to change the world. The technology that we're trying to deploy to industry should be the standard of commercial and residential filtration. There's
Mhm.
no reason for it. It is better than what is currently there. It's creating healthier and safer working environments. The pandemic has really emphasized the need for better indoor air quality and better awareness of it. So we really love that disruptor identity because it is how people are able to establish who we are and hopefully resonate with our ideas of wanting to create better change. And that's what we're looking for, is the types of customers who are also passionate about sustainability and passionate about creating a better place than how we found it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one more thing on there. Our ethos at the end of the day in the organization is to breathe innovation. As soon
Mhm.
as you walk into our building, that's the first thing that you see at the entrance on the wall is breathe innovation. It's in our lifeblood as an organization, and that's what we're here to do.
I would say 100% that your strategies clearly distinguish Blade Air in a competitive industry that we have like these days? Now, let's deep dive and talk about agility in business. In today's fast paced business environment, the ability to adapt swiftly to market changes and environmental challenges isn't just advantageous, it's essential. So, how has Blade Air managed agility in responding to market changes and environmental needs?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I'll actually go back to kind of how Giancarlo and I answered the first two questions there, of just constantly looking forward. We don't look at our product suite and say, okay, this is it. This is all we have to sell. This is all we're going to sell. This is the products that belong to us. We are constantly looking forward. We are breathing innovation, and we don't really accept the status quo. So change is a part of our nature. It is who we are as an organization. It's built into the lifeblood of how we run the business. And so adaptability is just another day at Blade's office where we look at different issues. We are constantly evaluating new technologies, and we're constantly asking, how can we improve our own technologies? We have more emphasis on improvement than almost anything else within the business. So staying agile, staying lean, staying mean is really just loving the problem, not the solution. And that's kind of the approach that we try to take so that everyone is constantly ready to improve, ready to drive better results,
Mhm.
ready to take on new challenges. And that's kind of a part of the culture that we've built here. And have an incredible team of people behind us who all believe in that and see that as the way forward as well.
And you know what, too? Agility is key in any organization, especially a startup. You always got to be ready to pivot, be ready to change, adapt what you're doing. Um, Listen to your clients. We do
Mhm.
that all the time. We listen to our clients. They're the ones who are buying from us at the end of the
That's
day.
important.
And absolutely, we send out surveys, we ask them questions, we listen, we say, how can we improve? What are you looking for? What do you see the future like in this industry? Where would you like to see the future of this industry as well? And we take that back and we take it to heart and we work on those kind of solutions.
So I would say, Giancarlo and Aedan, your ability to pivot and adapt, it is very, very essential for staying ahead in the industry.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. And to kind of put this into a frame of reference, we actually say that we're a different company. We've been three companies in the last 5 years alone. That's how
Oh,
we kind of look at ourselves, is we've been three different companies in the last 5 years of just recognizing how the market changes, recognizing how the needs change, the demands, what are the motivating factors behind decision making, all of these types of things. Where is the industry leaning? What's driving decisions? So we've re-identified ourselves continuously because we aren't, again, married to the solution. We're
yeah.
married to the problem.
Now, taking your that point forward, now let's talk about growth through acquisitions. So, talking about scaling operations, it is fascinating to see how strategic acquisitions can catalyze growth. So, can you discuss your strategic approach to growth through acquisitions?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. It all kind of comes back to that ethos of breathe innovation. We're always looking to improve. We're always looking to grow. And we have gone through two acquisitions right now.
Mhm.
We always kind of have our eye on the market and understanding. We know we can't always create the next best product, but we do know that there's always great innovations around, and for us, it's all about relationships and partnerships. So we love working with organizations who want to grow, who we can work collaboratively together to bring to a market, to constantly keep improving. So through growth through acquisition, it allows us to do a few things. It allows us to bring technology to market quicker that
Mhm.
has already been developed. It allows us to enter into new markets a lot quicker. It allows us to expand our customer base to provide more value as well. So it's definitely a strategy that has been exciting for us. Um, we we're very fortunate that we get to go through that process as well, which is exhilarating. And it's definitely been a huge learning curve for us too, going through that growth through acquisition strategy. Aedan, feel free to add some thoughts as well.
I think you kind of nailed it.
I know. I was about to say if you want to add something.
I really think you nailed it.
Yeah.
It's opening up new channels, improving margin, giving more flexibility in terms of pricing strategy and how we approach market, and really just at the end of the day, recognizing that if we want to drive the type of change that we're looking for, what this comes down to is the number of solutions that we can deploy in the market to maximize the impact that we can have. And if that's how we're framing for ourselves, then it really enables us to have better conversations. And so the acquisitions are not just buying new customers, it's buying new opportunities and empowering different levels of decisions to be made.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. And these moves showcase your commitment to expanding Blade Air's impact and reach. So, Giancarlo and Aedan just shared how strategic acquisitions have been crucial in scaling Blade Air's operations. This brings up an important point about growth. Sometimes expanding your impact means joining forces with others. For us listeners running businesses or leading teams, consider this. Who could you partner with this to amplify your impact? Whether it is a merger, a strategic partnership, or even just a collaborative project, there is a strength in every numbers. So, guys, let's just talk about sustainability and environmental impact. Turning our focus towards sustainability, an area where Blade Air has been particularly proactive. Could you explain how Blade Air's product and operations align with broader environmental and sustainability goals? And what specific outcomes have you achieved in this area?
It's a fantastic question. And Giancarlo, if you don't mind, I'll take the first whack at bat here on answering it. But I'll actually tie it back to what we were just talking about in terms of putting products into market. So as Giancarlo mentioned, our very first product, our carbon filter, was the world's first zero waste carbon filter. Every single product that we have brought to market, we have tried to figure out how do we minimize waste that's being generated from a physical standpoint? How do we reduce the amount of logistics in terms of trucking and moving and other forms of GHG production? And then the final area with regards to sustainability from a client-facing perspective is the energy consumption. How are we maximizing the efficiency of their energy usage? How can we minimize the amount that they need to use in order to get the output that they're looking for? And so with regards to the carbon filters, it was trying to create a more breathable bed that still performed to the same level of odor control performance that you needed, and making sure that it was a zero waste process. So no more carbon filters going in the trash. We take back the old cans. Carbon itself is an organic substance, so you can compost that, wash the metal frames, and then sanitize them, refill them, reuse them. And if you can't reuse it, you can take it to a recycling yard. Our HCFM, or our air purifiers, as we call them, those products are fabricated fully from metal, no plastic. We even use a metal frame on our HEPA filters to ensure that we are giving every opportunity we can to divert waste from landfill. So when the filter is spent, that can even be recycled. The frame itself, the entire housing, if it does get damaged, it can also be recycled. So again, just minimizing processes that are driving waste. Our Pro filters, exact same idea of creating a more breathable filter pad that's enhancing indoor air quality, and also minimizing the physical waste, because we're able to make our filter pads a lot more breathable, a lot lighter, a lot easier to transport. And what we're really proud of right now, actually, is that we have found a materials handler finally that will actually take back those pads, so we can again turn a 100% wasteful process into 0% waste. And all of this, again, is just mainly from the materiality standpoint of physical waste. Sustainability has a couple of other perspectives that we like to look at as well. And the first one that I'll touch on is energy efficiency. So about 40% of total energy spend is being driven through the HVAC system in any given building. 20% of that, 50% of that 40%, so 20% of your total spend is coming from cooling, The other 20% of your total spend is coming from the actual fan motor and the HVAC. We believe that we can have significant value add in both of those areas, reducing each by as much as 20%. And we've even seen as high as 75%. Now, don't hold us to that, only happen once. But for most customers, consistently, we are seeing that 20% savings coming through. And that's from both the fan motor and the cooling side. COP28 last year, coming out of Abu Dhabi, they set a goal for reducing global cooling usage by 60+% by 2050. We don't have to wait 26 years. We can deliver a third of that target today. And that's where the energy consumption side of it comes from. And then the last side that I'll talk about before I shut up here is sustainability from a health and wellness standpoint. About 35% of total sick days are attributed to poor indoor air quality, according to global statistics. Joseph Allen from Harvard University, well before the pandemic even started, was doing studies on the impact of productivity, the impact of human efficiencies between poor ventilated and well-ventilated rooms. And it's really something else when you look at it. There was a bunch more studies done throughout the course of the pandemic to look at how are we creating unhealthy environments. And really what it comes down to is all about air quality control, not just the filtering of the air, but your relative humidity, your CO2 levels, all of it matters. So where we believe that we play a significant role is that our products drastically enhance the indoor air quality in any given space that they're installed into. We've seen as high as a 225% improvement in the removal of bacteria and micropathogens from a space that was already being filtered with a high degree of efficiency in what is considered the post-pandemic standard of a MERV 13, or to give some context to that, what was previously considered to be a medical grade pre-filter. So our ability to outperform that and even outperform HEPA in the viral range is really what enables us to help people create that safer space. And at the end of the day, we spend 90% of our time indoors. We spend tens of thousands of dollars on HVAC equipment, and yet we spend $5 on the filter for the air that we breathe. It's crazy. It's madness. We need a reframe of how we address this issue and how we think about air quality inside the spaces that we live, work, and play. And that's kind of our approach to sustainability. Internally, it's very, very similar. Minimize our energy usage, minimize our physical waste production, recycle absolutely everything. And even just small fun initiatives that we do around the office is to like put water stations and stuff like that, and encourage people to make the right choices. We do a presentation every couple months on new sustainability initiatives that we're introducing to try and drive better results. But I think as the organization grows, we have some pretty ambitious goals ourselves for moving to a carbon neutral manufacturing plant. A little bit out of scope for us in our current stage of where we're at, but it's definitely a target that we want to work towards internally. And I do apologize. I know that was an incredibly long ramble, so I'll be quiet now.
It's the passion. The passion's
It's the passion.
there.
Yes, it's the passion. And it is like, it shows how you love your work and like your vision and what you're doing. You really like to talk about that. So,
I love it.
Yeah. Giancarlo, do you want to add anything on that?
I think Aedan hit all the points on the head there.
He nailed it. He nailed it completely. So let me just ask you one thing. How do you guys measure the environmental impacts of your products? And I know you talk about your future goals, but what are some of your future goals you have for enhancing sustainability?
I can talk to direct impact. What we do for a lot of our clients is we actually model out the amount of GHG reduction that we can generate for them. And one of the projects that we're looking at for a national deployment with a bank here in Canada to all of their retail locations was in the tens, I believe, in the 10,000 plus range of tons of CO2e that was going to be reduced as they adopted this across the portfolio, just based on the results that we were actually generating at some of the pilot sites. So from an energy standpoint, we're having very, very significant impact there. And it's coming out in the presence of huge emission reductions. And that's where, again, we really push our team to think about total impact, is how many tons of CO2 are we removing in any given year for any given client. And the answer right now is in the tens of thousands of tons of reduction that we can proudly attribute to deploying our solutions. And that's without even looking at the physical waste that we've been able to reduce, the amount of storage space that doesn't have to be utilized, how much lighter our packaging is, and basically everything diverted from landfill. Those haven't even been taken into account. We were purely measuring true energy efficiency impact from basically looking at province by province. How dirty is the power grid? How much energy are we saving? What's your runtime? And what's the scope look like? So just from that perspective alone, I know it's in the tens of thousands of GHG emission, tens of thousands of tons, sorry, of GHG that we've been able to look to reduce for customers.
Yeah, and I think just for a quick visualization for some people listening as well is, imagine the HVAC filters in your office, in your house, in your furnace filter. Every filter that you have there is a wasteful process. You're throwing it out.
Mhm.
Every one of those that we can replace with our Pro filter is now a zero waste solution.
That is amazing. I'm just thinking right now what I use at my house, and like those filters and the stuff that we use. So now, actually, listening to you guys, I'm thinking about I'm thinking about filters
Needy,
at
hit
my
us up
home.
after the podcast is done.
I think we have to. So I think it is evident that sustainability isn't just a part of your business model, it is a driving force behind your innovations. So as we wrap up, could you both share one piece of advice for entrepreneurs looking to innovate in traditional models?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll start with this one. One piece of advice that I love to share with every single entrepreneur, people even who are looking to possibly get into entrepreneurship, is don't be afraid of failure. Failure is okay as long as you learn from it. Learn from your mistakes. We mentioned in the beginning, it's not an easy path. It's not a one-way path. It's an up and down street. It's a roller
Yes.
coaster ride,
Yes.
and that's okay. It's learning from the mistakes that you make,
Mm-hmm.
understanding why you may have made a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
improving for the future, and keep looking forward. Remember the mission. Remember why you started what you're doing, and keep pushing forward. Persevere, and you'll make it through.
Aedan, your one piece of advice.
I would say specifically relating it back to innovating in traditional sectors is think different. Think different and listen to your customers, as Giancarlo said. Find out what the common pain points are. You're going to hear the same things over and over and over again. And if you can think differently than how everyone else is thinking right now, you'll be able to find a solution to a problem that a lot of people might be experiencing. And so
Mm-hmm.
you just need to have that mindset of stepping away from the problem or stepping away from the traditional solution and think different. And I'll just repeat what I said earlier of love the problem, not the solution,
Yeah.
and apply that different reframe of how could this possibly be addressed? Throw random ideas out there, things that no one else has ever considered or thought might be crazy to consider, and just work through those trains of thoughts and actually see, is this applicable? Is there any path to solution here? And you'll find that you come across some incredibly interesting and nuanced novel solutions. I mean, can tell you that's basically how we've come across a couple of our own innovations in and accidentally solving different issues because we thought differently about the problem. And a perfect example of that is our HEPA filter that we realized is actually a better HEPA than what's available in the commercial markets because we just wanted to improve airflow in our air purifier. We ended up creating an entirely new product line. And so when you think about problems differently and you put them in a different frame and take different approaches, you enable yourself and empower your team to really drive innovation. It's not being married to any type of solution. It's just that willingness to be unique and be different.
That is perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to both of you. Thanks for joining us today and sharing such insightful details about Blade Air's journey and your strategic growth. Your dedication to innovation and sustainability in the indoor air quality sector is not only inspiring but truly transformative. It's been a privilege to learn about your approach and your future plans and your future goals. So, thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure being here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. So, as we wrap up this enlightening conversation, I would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to all of our exclusive partners who make this podcast possible. A special thanks to RBC, our exclusive banking partner, UPS, our exclusive shipping partner, Constant Contact, our exclusive email partner, and ISG, our exclusive hospitality partner. For more insights and stories like this, be sure to subscribe to Canadian SME Small Business Magazine through our official website at canadiansme.ca. Stay engaged, stay inspired, and join us next time for another episode of the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, where we'll bring the spotlight to the change makers in our community. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, every small business has a big story.